Burble Vomit, and do you have that writing project you've been working on for a long time? Probably years at this point, but it is counting. And you know, you're working and you're in a relationship and you have friends and a life, and damn it, you're just too busy to work on that novel. But then you get a break. An extra day off, a week off of work, a summer off of school, and finally you have time. And you sit down at your keyboard or at your notebook and you work for hours and hours and you pound out like 30 pages, and afterwards you just feel completely creatively spent and the cycle starts all over again. Sound familiar? Well, according to researcher Robert Boyce, if you do this, your brain is actually following the same patterns as those with bipolar disorder, though it doesn't mean that there's anything actually wrong with your brain. It's ultimately just another way of writing. Sometimes you really just have to completely immerse yourself in your world and your writing in order to get anything done. However, writing a few pages every couple of weeks or every few months really isn't going to get your story completed in the way that you want sometimes. I also generally feel like this type of writing is reflective of a writer who hasn't made writing their full priority, which is okay, and some people never do, but if that bothers you, then maybe you need to change something. The reason why I think that is because it's generally followed by a lot of excuses and a lot of trying to justify, which means I feel like you feel bad about not doing it. But I'll tell you what, I don't care if you're busy. I don't care how long it takes you to write a book. It only bothers me if it bothers you. So, if you're a binge writer, there are two things that you want to try. Some characteristics of binge writers really emphasize that you have a lot of ideas and maybe not as much time as you would like to cultivate those ideas. So what ends up happening is you have all this energy that you really want to do all at once, and you don't always have time to get all of it done, and then you lose these ideas. So what I suggest is when you're writing, you're starting to feel a little creatively spent, but you've still got a lot of ideas. What you should do is make a list of what you still have going on in your mind, just short little bullet points, and set that aside, and then when you're done with your actual creative content production, then the next time that you come back to write, you have this list ready to go for you. The other thing to do is when you're writing, especially if you're a binge writer, is in the middle of your scene, in the middle of a sentence, that's when you need to stop writing. Helps your brain pick back up where it left off when you start up again weeks, months later, when you really want to be sure that you're staying consistent with your tone and your characterization and the mood of the piece that you were doing, and sometimes that doesn't happen when you have long periods of time in between each writing session. If you do not want to be a binge writer, what you can do is start interrupting your binge sessions. So if you notice you've been writing for an hour straight, stop and restart like 20 minutes later. Start adding breaks into these binge sessions and start trying to space them out over a couple of days. You'll eventually be able to train your brain to do it with enough effort. The other thing to try is actually scheduling time to write. It sounds stupid, but sometimes when your brain is used to having to try to get all this creative energy out all at once, it doesn't realize that you will actually return to this project and you will give it more time. So when your brain starts to realize that you will actually return to this project and it's going to be okay, and that you have a set time to do this creative energy expulsion at least every couple of days, your creative energy will come a little bit smoother. And with that, I think I'm done. Next week, I will do a video about the opposite side of this, which is writing every day. And I will see you guys next week. This video is dedicated to my special snowflake, and I will catch you guys next week.